To achieve realistic and believable results while rendering glass, we need to understand what are dispersion and caustics first. We used some glass shaders before and none of them were looking realistic, but they were okay just for seeing what these shaders were doing. Now, we'll dive a little bit deeper into how to create a nice glass material. So let's start with dispersion. It is the phenomenon where light splits into different colors when passing through materials like glass or water. This happens because different colors or wavelengths of light travel at different speeds through the material, causing them to refract by different amounts. This effect is what creates rainbows and the colorful patterns seen in prisms. Caustics are light patterns created when light rays are refracted or reflected by the surface, such as glass, and then form bright and intricate designs. These patterns are often seen as bright spots or lines on the surfaces where light focuses. The most obvious example are caustics at the bottom of the pool or the light patterns formed by the glass on the table. Understanding what are caustics and refraction can add a lot of realism to your renders. Now it's time to create a dispersion in the glass and see how to render caustics in cycles. Let's start with our glass material. We'll use this principled shader and create a basic glass material. I will leave the color to almost pure white. Now it's time to add the dispersion, and for this, we'll use 3 glass nodes and change their colors to red, green, and blue. We'll set the roughness of all of them to something like 0.1. Now we know how the dispersion looks, so to achieve an effect like this, we need to set 3 different IOR values to let all of these rays refract a little bit different, so we can achieve a rainbow-like effect. If they would have the same IOR values, we would achieve exactly the same result as by using only one white-colored glass. It's not necessary, but we will also create 2 value nodes to control the base IOR and amount of dispersion. I will name them real quick. This will be dispersion, and this one will be IOR. Now I'm adding 2 math nodes, subtract and add. For the middle green shader, the IOR will be 1.45, so I will plug the output of my IOR value node directly to the IOR of the green glass shader. For the red glass, I will subtract the difference in refraction from the IOR and I will add it for the blue glass. The value for the dispersion will be 0.05. I will also combine the proper IOR values with red and blue glass. Next, we need to add these 3 glass shaders together. First, we'll add red glass to the green glass, and then blue glass to another add shader. Now we need to connect our dispersion to glass created earlier. So let's add a mix shader node. And we have a nice glass material with dispersion. Remember that the value that describes the dispersion can't be too high because it will look weird, like you'd put a colored metallic foil over your object. Everything's looking nice, but the glass is just mixed with the dispersion part of the material, so we need to add the light paths node and connect the is transmission ray output to mix between the glass and our dispersion, and we have a physically accurate glass. But where are the caustics? To actually make them work, we need to do a few more things first. For now, we have just a plain shadow of a glass, nothing really interesting. First thing when adding caustics is to be sure that we have objects to cast caustic shadows. surface that will receive these shadows, and the light source that allows objects to cast caustic shadows. We have all of these in our scene, so let's start with all of the objects. Let's select all of them and go to the object properties. In the Shading tab, we'll find Caustic Settings, and we need to select Cast Shadow Caustics option. We selected all of the objects, so we need to right-click on this option and select Copy to Selected. We just saved a few seconds of our time. Nice! Next, we'll select the ground and select Received Shadow Caustics, as the caustic shadows will be projected onto the surface. And lastly, we need to select our light source and go into the light properties and check Shadow Caustics. And we have a glass with caustics. If something is still not working, check if you have a proper amount of bounces in the render properties and both reflective and refractive caustics turned on below in the caustic section. You can play with the light to see how the caustics react. You might see that the shadows below the objects are very dark, and it's not really physically accurate, but I feel like they would look better if they were brighter. So let's add transparent node and mix shader. Connect them to the existing setup, and drag is shadow rate output to the mix factor. Now the shadows are almost gone, so we need to add a math node. So Shift A, converter math. From function select subtract and type 0.4 to the value. Now the shadows are still there, but they are more subtle. And sometimes to achieve nice results, we need to cheat a little.